If I said any chance, we'll take it. Read us any rules, we'll break it. We're gonna make our dreams come true. Doing it our way.
Hey homies, what's up? Ryan Winn here with another episode of Late Night Inks, and tonight we have a very special guest with us. We have Tom Selleck as the one, the only Magnum PI, which I understand there was another Magnum PI, but I didn't know about that till today. So we're just going to go with the one, the only Magnum PI. One of the greatest shows in the 80s, but we'll get into that in a minute. What is this? This is an ink-along. So what you can do is, if you want to ink along, this image is down below. You can download it, ink it up digitally, or print it up and ink it up traditionally. Ink along with me at my rapid fire pace, or ink at your own pace on your own. But no matter how you do it, let me know below, or let me know over on Twitter at Ryan Winn. And I would like to share it in an upcoming video. So what we are working with my favorite brush Stinger, my Raphael 8404 size 2. I also have a newly found old number 4 that actually it's in pretty good shape, so I might be breaking that out for some of this hair. I'm not quite sure yet. So those are the tools we're working with. Here's the ink I'm working with, Black India ink from Rapidograph. We're using the Ultra Draw. It's not what I always use, just what I've been using lately, and I've really been liking the results. So what we do is our brush is loaded up with some water. We're going to dip it in the ink about halfway to 2/3. You don't want to go too far up onto the hair. You don't want to let ink get stored up in the brush ferrule here. That can cause the hairs to stick together in weird ways, and then you won't get the right bend and flex, and it won't hold the same amount of ink and stuff. So you want to keep that as clean as possible. So as usual, I want to do the contours first. And I've got a nice juicy brush here. So I am sharpening it on a little scrap paper I've got to the side. I'm going to make sure the camera is squared up, and away we go. I can start with this awesome Hawaiian shirt. And why does he wear a Hawaiian shirt? Well, that's one of the awesome parts of the show. It's seriously a perfect 80s show, especially for young Ryan. I didn't watch it all the time. I don't think my dad was a big fan, and I think it was on later than I was up for, so I would catch it on reruns in the summer. And what it is so Magnum here is a PI, private investigator, and security guard. And he used to be a soldier. So here, let me say it this way. He started out, he's a Vietnam vet. He did a few tours of duty, and he and his friends, some other former vets, now live in Hawaii. And he works as private security for some millionaire writer who doesn't live on the estate. So he gets to live in the house and drive the Ferrari and everything like that. And there is a rich dude named Higgins that's the groundskeeper. It's almost like an Alfred, but he's not his butler. And he protects the house and all that stuff. And then on the weekdays, he goes surfing and wins kayak contests and gets the ladies and stuff like that. Well, shooting guns and beating bad guys. So as a kid, it was like, dude, this is awesome. And Tom Selleck was like the ultimate man. And it was really funny last night as I was working on this drawing. I was like, this guy hits all the handsome man marks. Seriously. His chiseled chin, the cheeks, the eyebrows. He's got these big eyelashes that stick off the side. He's got a nice smile, all that stuff. And boy, this was a difficult pick. And by pick, what do I mean pick? So this is actually the first ink-along I'm doing for the, sort of contest I'm having, where if you sign up on the Hammerella Indiegogo email list, you will get an email from us asking what character I should draw. And if I choose your character, you not only, or no, you only, you win the original art. So sometimes I'll choose because I like the character. Sometimes I'll do a raffle to choose the character. And then whoever suggested that gets the art. Now, I don't know who suggested these yet. Some people told me online, some of the suggestions have the people's name in the suggestion. And early on I saw that. So my assistant Giddy is now handling everything, and she's just giving me the list of characters. So that's all I know is what characters are on the list. So even as I'm making this video, I don't know who this is for. So if this is one that you recommended, feel free to speak up. I think that'd be pretty funny if you happen to be watching. We've had a tremendous amount of people signing up and making suggestions. We're already at something like 30 suggestions. Almost 100 people have signed up on the email list, and it's just in the last week. We were expecting 10 the first week, so I'm floored. I'm blown away. And you guys have been sharing and everything. It's been so great. I can't thank you guys enough. Only thing I can do is try to promise to deliver an awesome project with Hammerella and the next Gods and Gears project that I'm working on with Dean. I'm kind of simultaneously writing those projects. And we did announce last night, if you didn't see on the birthday stream, yesterday was my birthday. So I hung out on the Alterna stream with Peter and friends, and that was awesome. That's one of my favorite things to do, so on my birthday I just wanted to make sure that I got to hang out on the stream. And everyone came on and we talked, and then I ended up having to take over the show pretty early because Peter's cat basically had a bathroom issue, and Peter had to go help the wife and the cat out for a bit. So I ended up answering a bunch of questions, and I wasn't really ready to talk about Hammerella and stuff like that, but people asked, and we started talking, so I'm going to share some of the info here. So what's happening is we are doing a crowdfunder for Hammerella. It's a 48-page story. It's tied to Gods and Gears. You don't have to have read Gods and Gears to be part of it, and you don't have to read Hammerella to get into Gods and Gears. And so it's going to be titled Hammerella Thundersmoke, and that's going to be the name on the book and the title of the book. But then when it comes out from Alterna next year, it will come out after our next story arc, and it will be Gods and Gears Annual number 1. So that's going to be really cool. It's going to be the first Alterna Annual. It's going to be the first Gods and Gears Annual. And I really liked the idea of doing that. So we're going to have side stories that are the annuals, and those side stories are going to build up and eventually join up with the main characters in the main story. Because we're building up to something really, really big around issue 25 or 30, which I don't know if that's where we're going to call the series or not, if we're going to end it there. All right, we got most of the contours done. I'm doing some of the details just because sometimes when you're working with a brush and it's got a good feel for those lines, you just want to hit the lines that the brush is ready for. Now, I don't tend to do realistic forms, and especially even in describing this collarbone, I've just used a series of 3 lines and 3 lines, very simple. You can do that if you want. Sometimes I'll do 2 sets of lines, like there's more light hitting this one, so maybe 2 sets instead of 3. Same with this, I'll hit 2 lines here to create this shape of the nose, but I'll do 3 lines over here, stuff like that. So I usually, like I said, we usually do the contours first. I don't really count the hair as a contour sometimes because I don't outline the hair and then fill it in. Get some water, get a little cotton mouth from talking. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I think I'm going to do the hair last. Let's see, next thing I want to do, make sure the brush has got some ink on it. All right, and then we're going to go in and, go in and do the eyes. Now he has these sort of slanty eyes, and these eyelashes that shoot off in the end. And that's one of the things I had a lot of trouble with, because I kind of have a standard way that I draw eyes, and this needed to be a caricature of a living person, and I didn't want it to be a realistic drawing, which is much easier than this, for me anyways. But I wanted him to look like he was in my style. Like if I was drawing a Magnum PI comic, this is what the character would look like. So we are going to do these eyelids first. Normally I like to go in and do the reflection and then the pupil and then the irises, but in this case, since his eyes are so shut, I want to make sure I get the lid in the proper place. So we're going to line this shot up, and I'm going to slowly build this up, the few lines. And you can have a little space between those lines or build it up just to be a thicker line. I'm going to do the lower brow in the same way, or lower eyelid in the same way, then on top. And then here I'm just gonna, it's a thick black line, but see we outlined and then filled in. That's called sculpting your line. And sculpting your lines can be in two forms. You can fill in like that, you can sculpt the shape and then fill it in, or it can be you build up from thin to thick. So I like to, when I was working on deadline projects, I'd like to simplify as much as possible. So if I could do things in one stroke, like when I'm working really fast, I would do that. And that actually made me a much better inker overall, and built my confidence up. So these are his cheeks pushing up. He's got real smiley cheeks, and those are his cheeks pushing up against his lower eyelid. And I do exaggerate upper and lower eyelids. I almost outline the eyeball, which is kind of what they're doing, but mine are a little more pronounced, and I think I draw bigger eyeballs to sort of have a cartoony vibe to it. And these are just a series of two little whipped lines. So when you kind of demystify inking, it's just a series of, broken down, you're just making these little lines. Here's 1, 2, 3 lines, that's the forehead. He's got this very pronounced crease in his forehead here. You don't want to make it too pronounced. I'm going to whip it thin, thick, thin. There we go. And then over here I'm going to do 2 thin lines because our light source is kind of coming from above here. As you can see, we've got a drop shadow for his chin, or a cast shadow. All right, let's go in and do these pupils. I'm pretty happy with those eye shapes. He's still looking like Tom, like Magnum. And we're making great time. Look at that, 12 minutes in. All right, can't thank you guys enough for watching. If you're new and you're hanging out, what we do is I ink these earlier on in the day or the week, and then when I post it and premiere it, I hang out live in the chat, so you can ask me questions about anything, about art, gods and gears, life, the universe, all that stuff. All right, I kind of want to hit the mustache, but I don't think I'm ready to hit the mustache. I was just thinking I wanted to do it before I did these cheek lines, but I think I'm just going to break up those cheek lines. And those I'm going to do some sort of whipped lines. And here we're going to go heavy and then start breaking it up. So that's our shadowed side. Alright, there we go. And he's got these little, they're not dimples, but they're kind of little pronounced smile lines. Right there and there. Although he is pretty dimply too, right where his mustache is, but you can't really see it. Alright, so we won't go as heavy on this side, and we'll actually do a couple underneath, kind of gray out that transition, and then hit that top cheekbone. Bam. Alright, so this is wet right now. We're going to give that a second to dry. Let's see, what can we do while that dries? You know what? Sometimes I do this, because I don't necessarily want to be blowing on the page, because you don't want to spit onto your ink or spit onto the board or anything like that accidentally. I have done that plenty of times. So I'll just kind of fan it, let it dry. When you're inking with brush, it dries pretty quick. And if you're ever really in a hurry, you can, you're being impatient, you can do something like take a Post-it note, say we're going to lay it over this pointy part of his cheekbone. Take a Post-it note, stick it down like this, and then lay it flat like that. Just barely let it touch, and then lift up. And if you don't have any ink on the underside, you're good. If you do, you may have soaked up whatever was wet, and you can take a look and see if it's dry. But it's usually dry within a minute. So make sure my brush is loaded up properly and sharpened. And we're gonna go in and do these eyeballs now. So on the inside here, we get one nice little U shape, and we're gonna do the same thing over here. It's a little bigger because it's on this side of his eye, where it goes up, where here it's on the side that goes down. And then from underneath that, we're going to have his pupil. And while we're in this area, we'll go ahead and fill that in black. And then we'll come over here, and from about the center part of that white reflection, you're gonna fill that in black there too. All right, and then we have 4 little lines. Now, as important as the eyes are, you just gotta remember, on a shot like this, it's just 4 little lines. Sometimes I'll add a second little thin line. I may go back and do that, but for right now, we're just gonna keep it nice and simple. Line up your shot. You put where I want the line to stop, that's where I start, then I pull back, press down, and there we go. All right. So that's the hardest part, was his eyes and his eyebrows, but I'm not as nervous about doing the eyebrows. So now we're gonna come in and we're gonna go a little heavy here on this side. This is the underside of his upper lip, and I kind of think that's all we're gonna see of it. I was thinking about having his smile show through the mustache a little in a manga style. I still might do that, but not quite sure yet. But let's do this. We're gonna do a slight curve upward, thin line like that, and then we're gonna go heavy straight across. And that'll give us his square lower lip that he has, but it has a nice little bounce with that thin second line. And if you weren't able to make these thin lines and then the thick lines work, it just turned out a thick line, that's totally fine. Don't be stressing out about that. This is all about learning to have fun with whatever tool you're working with and having fun over a fun image. Hopefully it's a fun image. All right, we're gonna go for some long lines here. Gonna whip these around like that. So I'm not worried about those being too perfect, and you shouldn't either. These are just little sort of light folds where his chin starts to protrude out. And then we've got these little wispies where he's got one more little protrusion of muscle that sort of sticks out on his chin here. So we want those to be thin lines and not really draw attention to them. All right, what next, gang? What next? So anyways, if you did join us last night for the alternate stream, thank you very much. I don't usually tell people about my birthday. I don't make it public. I'm not really celebratory about it. I'm usually like, yeah, let's just move on with our life and forget about it. But I've made so many great friends with you guys and the alternate gang and the readers, and it's just been so much fun these last couple of years, especially with all the drama going on and all that crap, that I wanted to celebrate with everybody, and I wanted to hang out on the alternative stream. And so I asked Peter, and he was like, of course, thank you for letting me know. I didn't know it was your birthday. So many of the creators, they don't want the extra attention, even though most of the time we're like, hey, look at me, look at my art. But I was like, you know what? I want to hang out with everybody. I know everybody would want to hang out with me, and they'd be mad if I didn't tell them it's my birthday. So we did that. All right, so I did talk, like I said earlier, I did get to talk a little Hammerella on the Alterna stream last night, and I haven't hammered down like the quick pitch for the story. We'll call a quick pitch quick pitch for the story. So I got to start working on that, and I might be testing it out on you guys, because it's the story of Hammerella, a girl that never gives up. All right, we're gonna go and do the eyebrows. Sorry, I interrupt myself sometimes to talk tools, what we're doing there. So Hammerella is raised on a world that was basically designed to kill her, and she wants to go find her parents and her family. And when she gets the opportunity to escape her world, she finds herself allied with a group that is in the midst of a giant war, and they're trying to transport a secret item. And she learns to, work as a team. They befriend each other, and they help her try to find her parents. And that's kind of all I want to say right now, because I don't want to give away our bad guys yet, because we got something really cool going on. And like I said in another video, we have a team that's similar to, it's not a direct equivalent, but that's similar to the Silverhawks. They're called Blue Astra. And I can't wait to show them and their designs. All right, where are we at? We just did those, so the eyelashes are a little bit on the wet side. All right, let's give this a second. I'll keep talking about Hammerella if you guys want. So I am doing all of the art and all the writing on Hammerella while Dean gets started on the next big arc for Gods and Gears. So I'm going to be posting a lot of process stuff, and not even just art. I'll be doing videos where I show how I break down story and script and everything like that. I think that'll be kind of fun to show everybody. So I have my own ways, but all my ways are just pulled and derived from other great real writers. I never planned on writing this much stuff. I'm not I don't consider myself a real writer. I'm a storyteller, mostly visual storyteller. I like to write short stories for the most part and stuff like that. But Gods and Gears kind of, I don't know, it's its own thing. It forced its way into the world, and it just keeps growing and getting bigger. And we are pretty much out of issue 1. I think I've got 1 or 2 more copies available in the store. Link below. And Peter at Alterna, he's going to be printing second prints in early 2021. I think we're going to have a giant, which is a collection of all 4 issues. But it's going to be a really big giant, because after the first issue was 20-some pages, and then after that, they were all 30 pages, which was the max that he would let us have. All right, we're going to go really heavy on these eyebrows. And you can follow along, or you can go really thin if you want. I'm going to go wispy on these at the end here, and then we're going to do a couple wispy ones there that kind of give the eyebrow life and shape. Alright, so now we're going to do the reverse of that. You bear down, you kind of lift up so that you get a white space. And these are called these chisel lines. Sometimes it's kind of hard to, like in the case of eyebrows like this, it's hard to mimic them, the brush marks the exact same way on both sides. So do the best you can. Don't be too hard on yourself. All right, there we go. It's looking a little Sam Shepard there too. I think that's the angle. I think it's a little more Tom Selleck when we do that. All right, there we go. All right. So we've got that done. I'm going to give a little outline to the stash here. I don't want to do too bold of a contour or an outline. I just want to kind of give myself some parameters to work in. I think I'm going to do that just for the top. It's the bottom we're going to do this in 3 parts, gang. We're going to do this part that goes up and under the nose. And these don't have to be perfect or chisel lines or wispy lines. They can be whatever kind of lines you want. If you just want to shade fast and whip in a bunch of thin lines, do it however you want. Let it be your style. You don't have to copy me. All right, now we're going to go and we're going to push black up against a white shape and let there be a bit of a highlight on the mustache. But as we get to the center, we'll have a meat, but then he's got this kind of part in his mustache there. So again, we'll start heavy since this is the underside, and as we go out, we'll leave that white space. All right, I'm going to go back a little. Started spreading out the lines too much. All right, we'll leave that white space that creates the highlight on the mustache. I think you guys can hear Rocket yelling in the background. Hold on, let me see what he needs. All right, he's taken care of. So, all right, so we had that little highlight. Then I'm gonna go in. Actually, don't want it that light, so we're gonna close it up with some thin lines here, or medium lines. And those don't have to line up perfect. There, you just made sort of a gradation in the mustache. I'm going to reload the brush, and we're going to do the underside of this stash, where we're going to do some nice heavy lines that work their way in just like that. Start out here like that, kind of adds a smile effect. And this also kind of doubles as the underside of the mustache and the slight shadow that the mustache would cast. But we don't actually want to draw a shadow onto there. All right, we're almost ready to do his lovely locks. Let's go in and do some of this rendering first. We got a few lines here. And then we'll come over here and we'll do some thin to thicks. And you can get nice and chiselly as we work into the shadow side there. Oh, I hope I was in frame there. All right, I'm having fun with this. So while all of this is drying, let's, you know what? Let's see about breaking out a marker. Whoa, hit the camera. Sorry about that, everybody. So this is our Zebra Sensations Blue Barrel Brush Marker. Just like the other tools, the link will be down below. And this is actually a good tool for doing the hair. We're going to whip these lines. And whenever I say whip, that means I'm sort of doing I'm moving like this, and it's what Danny McKee used to say, it was landing the airplane. Now, no matter which direction I'm going, I'm hitting the board, bearing down with the pen, and then lifting up. So it's like landing an airplane and then taking off again. And then sometimes I'll do a back and forth like that. And since these are awesome chest hairs, you don't want them to be too uniform. It's okay for there to be kind of a pattern, or if you kind of create rows like this. And I'll zig and zag on some of them. And here, don't feel like you have to follow what's in the pencils. Just create your own flow. You can do all zigzags. You can do it much cleaner than this if you want. There we go. There's his awesome chest and his open Hawaiian shirt. And while we got this out, let's do his shirt. I like to do, if I'm doing shirt stuff like this, and especially if it's just a fun image like this, I don't want to waste too much time on crazy details on the Hawaiian shirt, because they're just patterns, and these circles, they don't have to be perfect circles. I'm just scribbling around them. I'm basically doing a C shape and then going back against it. And here, real loose, just just like it's a pattern printed on a shirt. And these palm leaves here, just whip them back and forth, however you want. But yeah, there's no reason to stress out on making these hyper detailed. If you look at your Sean Gordon Murphys or your Andrew Robinsons or something, they'd go real simple on stuff like this. But they would look at reference. I looked at reference. You want to always have reference so you know exactly what you're drawing. So that whatever, even if you're doing an interpretation of something, you're doing an interpretation of a real thing that other people see and know. All right, so we are ready to do this hair, and I think I'm going to break out the big brush. You do not have to break out a big brush if you don't want. Excuse me. Have a little water myself. All right, I'm going to load up the big brush. This brush is huge. I have a size 6 somewhere that I'll try to find. I've had so many brushes over the years and experimented with so many that you only use a couple times. But I really want to start playing with some of these bigger ones. So you'll be inking over my already inked image. I'm going to be kind of making some of this up as we go. I want to go a little artsy on his hair too. I want to have some fun with it. So you can follow my lines, or you can create your own. This ink along is not an assignment on how much did you make it look like my work. It's an assignment on, can you have fun with the inking tools that you're working with? Oh, I smudged there. Did you see that? We'll have to work that in. So he's got this sort of flow, curls this way, and then as it drops around to the side of the head, curls this way, and we'll get heavier as we go down here. And what I like about hair is as long as you sketch and draw or ink in the direction that it flows, you can sort of get abstract like this, and it'll still read as hair. Bear down there, and then a couple loose ones. It's a little bit unkempt Hawaiian island lifestyle. I was only in Hawaii once. I was very young. I went to Honolulu. I was working for Quicksilver at the time. I don't know if any of you know that I did used to work there, and what I did was we helped design and build the interior of their stores. And they used to have crazy displays with like these big shrine boxes we would make with spinning surfboards and skateboards that had TVs and displays in them and stuff like that. I should do video. I got pictures and stuff I can show. They don't do anything like that these days. But yeah, that was the one time I got to go to Hawaii, and it was the most touristy. Luckily, I knew a lot of surfers and locals, so we were able to go to like really cool places. We didn't get off the island, but there were some cool places away from all the touristy spots. But man, Magnum made Hawaii look so cool and perfect. It very well may have been paid for by part of the tourism board for Hawaii or something, because this show just made you want to go like live in Hawaii. It was such a goofy show too. I'd like to. I saw on YouTube you could rent or buy all the episodes. And I was like, okay, I might have to go back and check some of these out. All right, we're coming along pretty good. Sometimes you get to this point, and as the artist or creator, you feel like, oh, I didn't pull it off. I'm actually really happy with this. It actually looks more like Tom Selleck now than I thought it did in the pencils, and I think that's because of the hairdo. All right, so we're gonna close that up. Here's where we're gonna get a little artsy with the hairdo. First, we're gonna do the shadow under his jaw and the shadow under his lip. So I want to go nice and solid on these. And when you're filling in your black areas like this, don't feel like you have to rush. I move pretty quick, and that's time has done that. I got too much ink on the brush. I'm gonna wipe it off probably 10 times on the scrap paper on the side here that I got locked down, and that way we can break out these lines, this gradient here, where the shadow breaks up as his neck wraps around and is exposed to the light. And we're going to add a little bit of shadow here on this side, or rendering to create a shadow effect there. And I think I want to heavy that up and heavy this up. I think I want to add one little sort of line there. All right, it's actually got a little bit of a Mort Drucker vibe. I studied Mort a lot on how to do caricatures. If you don't know Mort, he's a famous Mad Magazine cartoonist and caricature artist. All right, there we go. So I'm gonna set the brush down. I'm gonna break out our trusty marker again, and I'm gonna go in and do these almost, they're not realistic, but I like to do this to add texture and design to the hair. Sort of go against the lines here. Go like perpendicular to the open white lines or the black lines that you've created. You can cross over like that too. I don't normally like hatching in hair, but again, this sort of has a design quality to me. Certain European artists have done stuff like this that I like, and I try to incorporate an effect that I feel works with my style without aping any of them too much. All right, so did any of you watch Magnum growing up, or have you, if you're younger, have you gone back and checked out this weird, fantastic 80s TV show? If you did, what'd you think about it? Everyone's made so many great suggestions. If you haven't signed up on the email list, you can go to ryanwinn.com. Sign up. I think that email prompts you the same as the IGG one. Either way, you end up just on one email. I'm not collecting and sending you guys multiple emails all the time and multiple newsletters. We're just going to be sending out info for the ink-alongs, which we're going to be planning ahead better and try to build up the audience for that. And we're going to be doing giveaways with the art for that as well. All right, let's bring in some lines here. We'll try to hide our mistake there, which now that we're adding these kind of lines, we can do that. And feel free to do anything you want with this stuff. I'd like to see what people have done. When Mark Deering did, he joined in and did a Daredevil one, and he went to town on it. I loved it. He made my version just look so simple and plain. He added all this texture and hatching, but he didn't overdo it. That's a great thing. It was still totally my piece. He just kind of added what I was missing. All right, let's do a few rendering lines here. Sort of give us that dimension of it, the skull wrapping around there. All right, I think this is it, gang. I think we're done. All right, and this will be going out to one lucky winner. I don't know who it is yet, but because I only know through emails, and like I said, my assistant Giddy is handling all of that stuff. So I'm only getting the list of suggestions. So we will be letting the person know, and we will be sending this out to them. So I'm going to go ahead and sign this. If you have done the ink along, go ahead and sign right there down below and let me know either here or let me know on Twitter at Ryan Winn. Thank you guys for joining me, and until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and take it easy. And if you haven't already, head over to alternaaccess.com and check out the book I wrote, Gods and Gears, with art by Dean Kotz and letters by Wes Loker. Issue 4 is out soon.
Stupid cat. Stupid cat.